You're stranded deep in the woods with just a knife. No matches, no fire starter, and not even a compass. Your survival hinges on resourcefulness and knowledge. A knife can be crucial for tasks like cutting materials to build shelter, creating tools, and preparing food. However, always remember that identifying edible plants, mushrooms, or berries requires absolute certainty through expert guidance or field guides. Additionally, check local laws before attempting any trapping, hunting, fishing, or gathering of wild resources. Stay safe by focusing on essential survival skills while respecting nature's limits and legal boundaries. Your first priority is finding shelter from the elements. With a knife, you can create a makeshift linta using branches and leaves. But be smart. Choose dry, sturdy materials that will hold up in rain or snow. Start by collecting long sticks for the frame. Then cut smaller branches to weave into the structure. Use your knife's edge carefully. If needed, strip bark off larger logs with caution, but remember that removing too much bark can damage trees. Always aim to minimize impact on the environment and leave no trace. The next challenge is finding water. While ants do follow moisture trails, relying on them isn't reliable for large quantities and doesn't account for pathogens. Instead, look for signs like plants bending towards water sources or areas where tracks lead into dense vegetation. If you find a damp spot near a tree base, dig carefully to collect the soil but never drink from it directly without purification. Filter through clean clothing or leaves, then boil or use another method to purify your water before drinking. Remember, untreated water can carry dangerous pathogens and must always be purified in the wild. Now for fire. Dry wood is crucial here. Use your knife to find and prepare tinder responsibly. Look under rocks or fallen logs where dried moss and leaves might hide. Use the tip of your knife carefully to scrape off fluff from cattails, dry grasses, or pine needles. But remember never to harvest more than what you need and be mindful not to disturb wildlife habitats. Once you have a good pile of fine material that's sustainably sourced, start shaping larger sticks into kindling with your blade, ensuring each piece is free of moisture. Always adhere to local laws and regulations regarding fire making in the wilderness to protect both yourself and the environment. Building a fire safely is crucial. Mistakes can lead to dangerous wildfires. Choose a location far from flammable materials like overhanging branches, and clear the area around your fire site of any debris. Use your knife carefully to create a small inner circle for your tinder, and an outer ring with stones or logs as a barrier to contain sparks and embers. Always check local regulations before building a fire in the wild. Finding food in the wild means hunting, fishing, or gathering, but always within legal limits and during appropriate seasons. Your knife is both tool and weapon here. If you're after small game like rabbits, check local regulations first, as some areas prohibit certain traps or require licenses. To make a humane snare, use wire or specialized cable if permitted. Never carve from branches, which can be unpredictable and dangerous. Secure one end around a sturdy tree trunk, with the other looped over another branch about an arm's length away. Place your bait, like leaves or nuts, but ensure no non-target animals could become trapped. Always set traps only after training and under expert supervision to avoid harming wildlife illegally. Fishing can be simplified with basic tools. Strip bark off sticks to make hooks, using the knife tip to sharpen them. Carve lines in larger branches for added durability, but remember that fishing laws vary by location. Check local regulations and seasons before setting any traps or lines. If you find a suitable water body, use your knife edge to scrape fish scales and remove entrails, ensuring to purify any collected water to avoid pathogens. Always cook fish thoroughly over an open flame to ensure safety. Finally, navigation without a compass relies heavily on natural landmarks, trees, rivers, even the stars. Use your knife carefully to mark crucial points. Notches in trees, without damaging them, piles of stones, or signs of human activity like tracks or discarded cans. At night, learn to read the Big Dipper and Polaris, the North Star, to orient yourself. But remember always to check local laws regarding marking trails or altering natural features without permission. But remember, every action with a knife carries risk. Cut safely, always be aware of where you're slicing, and never use it recklessly in crowded or unsuitable environments. Your knife is your best friend out here, but only if you handle it with the respect it deserves. Always follow local laws when foraging, trapping, hunting, or fishing, and positively identify any plants, mushrooms, or animals with an expert guide or field manual before consuming them to ensure safety. Let's start by talking about shelter. You need to make one that keeps the rain off and blocks the wind. Look for a spot that has plenty of branches, but isn't too high up where they might fall on top of you. Gather long sticks first, then cut smaller ones with your knife to weave into the structure. Be sure to follow local regulations about altering natural habitats when building shelters in protected areas. Don't forget to strip bark off larger logs if needed, but remember that stripping bark can harm trees. Only do this if absolutely necessary and choose down wood instead whenever possible. When it comes to finding water, think like an ant by observing their movements as they often follow moisture trails. However, instead of relying on ants alone, look for signs like damp ground near the base of trees or in depressions where rainwater collects. Carve a V-notch at the base of a tree if you suspect there might be moisture below. But remember to dig carefully and check for water sources directly rather than waiting for ants to guide you. Collect any surface water from leaves or moss. Filter it through clean clothing or a cloth before drinking, and consider boiling it to ensure safety. Always prioritize finding a reliable source of clean water over relying on uncertain methods like this one. Fire is critical for warmth, cooking, and signaling help. Dry wood is key. Use your knife to find and prepare tinder like dry moss, leaves, or bark from under rocks and fallen logs. The tip of your knife can also scrape fluff off cattails or pine needles. Gather this material into a pile, then use the blade to shape larger sticks as kindling. Remember, always follow local laws when gathering firewood in natural areas. Building a fire can be dangerous if done improperly, so choose an open spot away from overhanging branches and clear any debris around the base. Use your knife to carve an inner circle for tinder and another outer ring of stones or logs for containment. This helps contain the fire safely, but always keep water nearby and ensure you have the proper tools like a fire starter or matches. Remember, even with careful setup, fires can spread quickly if not monitored closely. Never leave a fire unattended and make sure it is completely out before leaving the area. Always check local laws and regulations regarding campfires in your specific location to avoid breaking any rules. Foraging for food involves hunting, fishing, or gathering wild edibles, but it's crucial to adhere to local laws, seasons, and licensing requirements. Your knife can be used to craft simple snares from thin branches. Secure one end around a tree trunk and loop the other over another branch about an arm's length away. However, never set traps without proper knowledge of legal regulations and ethical hunting practices. For bait, use natural food sources that appeal to local wildlife like acorns or seeds, but remember to positively identify any wild plants with expert guidance before consuming them. Fishing is simpler with your knife. Strip bark off sticks to make hooks, but remember that identifying safe fish species is crucial. Sharpen the hook at one end only to avoid injury. Carve lines in larger branches for added strength, and use a sturdy stick from your campsite as a makeshift fishing rod. Before setting up by the water's edge, check local laws and seasons for fishing regulations, and always ensure you positively identify any fish caught with an expert or field guide to avoid ingesting harmful species. Navigation without modern tools involves using natural features such as tree types, river directions, and star patterns. Always mark critical points carefully. Use notches in trees or piles of stones, but avoid disturbing the environment by leaving signs that could harm wildlife or invade privacy. At night, Polaris, the North Star, can help you determine north with accuracy, provided clear skies allow for proper observation. Remember to respect local laws and environmental regulations when navigating wilderness areas. Every move you make is crucial when all you have is a knife. Use it safely and stay alert to your surroundings at all times. Remember, your knife is a powerful tool that demands respect. It can help you gather food, build shelter, and protect yourself, but always use it carefully to avoid injury. Additionally, be aware of local laws regarding hunting and fishing if you plan on using the knife for these purposes. And never eat any wild plants or mushrooms unless they are positively identified by an expert. Your first meal in the wild should come from safe, positively identified plant materials. Look for potential edibles, but never eat any without consulting an expert or field guide. Use your knife carefully, and only for preparing items you've verified as non-toxic and safe to consume. Stick to well-known edibles once properly identified, and avoid anything unfamiliar or potentially poisonous. Always prioritize safety over hunger in the wild, respecting local laws and seasons for foraging. Hunting can be done with a knife by setting snares or crafting spears from sharpened sticks. Look for signs of wildlife such as tracks in mud, scat near fruit, and set up traps accordingly while ensuring you comply with local laws and seasons. Always have a backup plan if your first attempt fails. Use your knife to modify and improve your trap safely. But remember that hunting is regulated by legal requirements and season restrictions in most areas. When foraging or trapping, positively identify any potential food sources with an expert guidebook, and never consume anything without absolute certainty of its safety. Building shelter is about creating layers that protect you from the elements. Start by constructing a sturdy frame using long branches as beams, then weave smaller sticks into a latticework over top. Use your knife to strip bark off larger logs for insulation material, but remember to follow all local laws regarding tree conservation, and only take what's necessary without harming living trees.